We are ready to begin reading logs. Yay! It may be a little bit different than what you are used to, so let me explain how they're going to work in Pre-AP 8th grade English Lit. Okay, this is what it looks like. I will send it to you via email, and you can choose to send it back to me written. You can print them out on your own. You can do it on just binder paper. It doesn't matter because I'm more concerned about what you put in your thinking in here than you have this piece of paper. But this is generally what it looks like. Well, it is what it looks like. It's not generally. This is what they look like. The area that will change will be what our focus is on. But let me explain how each of the elements work on the reading log. Okay, so the top of the reading log is pretty self-explanatory. What book are you reading? Who's the author? What pages did you read that week? Big question is, what big idea do you think the author is addressing through the text? You'll get that from the beginning of it. Some sense of what this author is trying to tell you and share with you about life. Doesn't matter if you get to the end of the text and you discover that, well, the text didn't really talk about that at all. That's okay. It just gives you something to focus about and some general thinking about where the text may be going based on your first impressions of what you got off the teaser or you've been reading now for a couple of weeks. So it should be more specifically to the text at this point with your first book you're reading. The next part is log for the week of. This section is what's the week that you're reading, and you will start on Monday. Your reading log is due on the next Monday. Okay, that's the top part. The next section is, let's see if I can do this. This here, you will have vocab words. You will have 5 words that you will find out of the text that you didn't know before and that this text has introduced you to. I want you to write what the word is and then what the definition of that word is. If you do not find 5 words in the text that you are reading, then I want you to get the dictionary out and find 5 words that you didn't know and write their definitions down. Another note on that is if you have picked a text that you have no new words that you are learning from the text, you are not choosing a sufficiently challenging text for you. If you really want to grow as a reader, you have to read text that is challenging for you, that is more difficult. Otherwise, what's the point? How are you learning? How are you getting better? It's kind of like a marathon runner who never runs. How are they going to get better at running if all they ever do is walk, for instance? So, enough of that. Just choose a text that is sufficiently challenging for you. This section here is where it will change every time we're doing something different depending on what our book report is based on. And it'll be based on different standards that we're focusing on. But right in this area here, I will have the information about the standard and where you should be thinking as you are reading the text. I want you to be focused. This is unlike what we've been doing so far, where I've just had you giving you something and you annotate the text and you let your brain take you wherever your brain wants to take you on a ride when you are reading the text. When you are preparing for a book report, I want you to make sure that you are focusing on what I'm going to ask you to think about, analyze, work with on your book report. So I will be specific about what type of thinking I want you to do as you're reading based on what I know your book report's going to be on. So when we get to the point where you're doing your book report, you pull out your reading logs and you have the information right there for you to write your book report from. So all that gathering of evidence has already been done via your reading logs. Okay? You have 3 responses that you need to do within your week. You need to write the direct quote, right here, direct quote. And when you are directly quoting a text, you put those words in parentheses. As you can see here, there's a parentheses right there. I'm sorry, not parentheses, quotation marks. I'm sorry, quotation marks. Page number, quotation marks around what you copied out of the text. You need to have 1, 2, 3 of those quotes. Now, what do you pick? It depends on what I've asked you to focus on and what element of the text, what the author has written that makes you think something about what I've asked you to think about. And then your response, this part here, response goes here, 3 of them, connected to each of your quotes. What do you think about that? Okay, so here, Ruby has written, this quote seems important because it shows how we don't always get to choose in life. We all don't want to lose people or things. However, there's no way to escape it. It could happen at any moment. We can only enjoy the present, right? She's not telling me anything about the text. She's telling me what she thinks about what this quote is about or what it made her think. That's what I need you to do. I've read a lot of the books. I haven't read them all, but I've read a lot of the books you're reading. I don't need you to tell me what happened in the stories. I know what's happened, or I can read the story myself and figure out what happened. What I will never know unless you share with me is what you think about that and what it made you think. That's what I really need to know, and that's the true essence of responding to literature, of writing and communicating. It's about what do you think? It's so interesting and fascinating, the things that people think. So I want to know what you're thinking. So that's what you do in your responses. Okay, the last part that you do is this part down here. General comments. This is a section where you get to the big idea. It could be reflected back to, which you can't see now, the big question that you asked at the beginning. But what is this book teaching you about reading, about literature, about writing, about ideas, about life, connections? So what? What are you getting out of it? It can be relationships, since we're studying about relationships. It's really very open-ended. It does not need to be connected to the book report standard that we're working on, but it's a bigger idea. And you can see what Ruby has put here, which is just right on spot for thinking about the big ideas that a text is trying to present to you. Just to help you out, I also have one here that's on binder paper, which is excellent to do. There's nothing wrong with that. He has most of the elements going on, but let's look closely at what he's done and why he did not get a good score. Let's start with his big idea question is great. That's a great question to think about. He has only 1 vocab word. He needs 5. He didn't have them on the back. Actually, he did have words written, but no definitions. So he hasn't completed the task. He does have quotations, but his response, let's take a look at what he wrote. To me, the garden has tons of flowers with all different kinds of colors. Okay. So, well, what's your point? What about it? Give me some insight. What did that make you think? What about, why would the author do that? What's the point? I need to know what you think about that. Here, does it again. To me, he has a short temper, and when someone messes with him, he starts getting really mad. That may be a great analysis of the character, but so what? Why would the author do that? What's the point of having that character behave in that manner? What did it make you think about? How does that fit with the big idea that the author is trying to get to in having this character behave this way? What's his point? What do you think it is? I really, honestly, guys, don't care what you think about it. I just want you thinking. And as you keep going through the text, you will modify your thinking. You will become more solid in one way or another, or you will abandon thoughts that you had at the beginning. That's the joy of learning. Okay? But when you don't give the thinking, if you don't go to that depth of really thinking about why would they do that, you're missing out on the amazing art of writing literature, of enjoying literature. So you got to dig deep, and it's such an intellectual, fun activity to do. Just get your brain thinking. It's like solving a puzzle and figuring it out. What do I think about that? What could it possibly be? Okay? Again, to me, this person mostly has bad dreams, so he usually thinks it's for real. Okay? So why would the author do that? What's the point of having that happen? Okay? Again, really getting to the point of the so what. Why? Why? I know you're probably already tired of hearing so what and why, but you're going to hear it all year. Okay? I think that's about it. So I can't wait to see your great thinking, and it really is about your thinking on these, and I hope you enjoy the intellectual conversation you have with yourself.